welcome back to another Raleigh Road Show. And tonight we have our first metal band, and I'm really excited about this. Of course, everybody knows the backstory about the Raleigh Road Show. We got part of the inspiration from that metal show. So a lot of the bands that appeared on there, I'm sure these guys are going to talk to you about tonight, and we'd love to hear some feedback on the show, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. So in any event, we're here tonight with Bedowyn, and we just do a little round circle and start on this end and tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what instrument you play, and anything else you'd like to start off with.
My name is Alex. I am the rhythm guitar player and vocalist. I've been in North Carolina for 10 years, trying to escape the cold of Cleveland, Ohio, and it didn't work this year.
It did not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm Todd, a bass player. I'm from Durham and Raleigh, and currently outside of Pittsburgh.
Cool.
In the country.
In the country. There you go.
So I'm Mark, I'm the drummer. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina, and I've been here for about 10 years playing music.
My name is Mark as well. I play guitar, and been in the Raleigh area on and off since senior in high school. Kind of moved around, lived in New Orleans for a while, in Wilmington, but been here on and off since '88. But yeah.
Cool. Well, you know, this is a different kind of name. Everybody probably wouldn't understand. Does anybody want to take a swing and tell the audience what the name means and what significance it plays for you guys?
So when we started out, we played, I think, for about like 4 or 5 months without a name. I mean, probably up until like our first gig, we didn't really have a solid name, and you know, we did a lot of brainstorming, and I like the idea of, you know, nomad culture and actual Bedouin, which are, you know, nomadic people predominantly found in the Middle East. For metal's sake and for design's sake, we took the traditional spelling and we added a WY in there. And our logo is cool because of that. People's general pronunciation of it tends to be flawed. But
What's funny about it is part of the reason we chose to spell it differently is we thought people would be able to pronounce it easier.
Yeah.
And they pronounce it Bedowyn or Be Down. But
Be down.
well, yeah, that's funny in itself. So,
As long as they remember it, right?
Yeah. Cool. So exactly when did you guys start, and how did this whole thing get going?
We started back in fall of 2011. I was looking to get another band together. The band I was with before that had never really got off the ground. We rehearsed for about 10 months, and then everybody else in the band quit, and I was the only one left. So I was looking to start another project, and a guy I worked with used to play with Mark in his old band called Soul Preacher, and his name is Chris Hill, and Chris told me to give Mark a call, and one day, you know, I just gave Mark a call, and he was looking to do kind of you know, some similar things, and
Is that Chris Hill, Jam Pain Society?
no, it's a different Chris Hill. Yeah, different Chris Hill. Yeah,
But I can see the confusion.
yeah. And so I had already been in touch with Todd as well. Todd had put out, I think, an ad on Craigslist looking to play, and I'd answered Todd's ad, and I think I can't remember if I had answered Todd's ad before I called Mark, but it was around the same time, and so so we got together and jammed for maybe about 3 weeks or so, and then Todd worked with Alex, and Alex was looking to get involved with a band, and you know, turned out it just worked out.
Right.
You know,
That's cool. You know, I watched. I don't know if you guys watched that History of Metal rockumentary. That was
I've seen
on,
some of it. Yeah, it's a long.
It's a great piece. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. I'm sure on
Where the
YouTube
horns
or
come
somewhere.
Yeah.
Where do the horns come from?
Yeah,
Is it
Dio.
Dio or Gene Simmons or
He's got a copyright on it or something.
But it was amazing to me how many genre of metal there are. I mean,
Yeah.
it started out as you go in this little block and it's like almost like a family tree if you actually see it. And I actually looked at that on YouTube today. But you've got thrash metal, you've got new metal, you've got black metal, death metal.
New wave of British heavy metal.
If I remember correctly, the guy that did that documentary goes all the way back and starts with the blues. Like
Right,
everything kind of came from that.
And someone dropped an amp by accident and
Yeah.
cracked the speaker and distortion was born.
And yeah.
Yeah,
What is that? Awesome.
and if you even go back farther back, some of the great composers, Wagner was very dark, and all of the
Oh yeah. and
heavy
that's-
stuff
yeah.
that he composed was.
That's why Richie Blackmore, Rainbow was very.
Yeah.
He was like kind of one of the first guys to really infuse that classical influence, with
Right.
hard rock and heavy metal.
Yeah, and then you had Yngwie Malmsteen comes.
Yeah,
to
he
mind
did
as
that
well.
later. Yeah, but he kind of was a little more obvious about it.
Right.
But Richie more. The thing I liked about Richie Blackmore is he actually had like strings and stuff in a lot of the music, and a lot of the keyboard stuff were classical parts, and so it was a little more subtle, but at the same time they were, I love the way he did it.
Yeah.
Always been a big Richie Blackmore, Rainbow, and Deep Purple fan.
All that good stuff. Yeah. Well, we'll start over. And where did you start playing, and who are some of your influences growing up, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm like the worst metal guy here. Like I listened to Kate Bush all week. I'm serious. I'm relatively young. I'm younger than these guys, not by much.
Right.
But I grew up on hardcore and punk rock in my teens and earlier than that.
Which there was a fusion of that in some form and fashion.
Yeah, and I mean,
There's
like,
a lot of common ground.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, the bands that were coming out when I was 16 and stuff weren't exactly the most groundbreaking. But I don't know. I like a lot of classic punk rock stuff. I like the Misfits a lot. They're fun. I got into metal. I'd say later than most people. I think get into metal, really get into it.
Right.
And yeah, I think it started kind of gravitating that way, where I just wanted just a little bit more than the punk rock and a little bit more than the hardcore.
When you said, and to think of that, I think of Black Flag when you think of that. That's sort of where that. So you saw
one of the early,
that with Henry Rollins and all that good stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
You sort of see that punk rock metal blend right there that starts. I think that was early '80s. Yeah, but and whom else do you like, or who are some of your older? Everybody does the whole Sabbath thing, which everybody loves Sabbath.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I love the guys that made history and that everyone kind of appreciates. Some guys I'm into a lot are guys from Ohio called Skeleton Witch. I'm really into those guys. They kind of infuse a lot of the black metal and the thrash together.
Right.
It's really fun. I listen to a lot of music that isn't metal that kind of inspires me, I guess.
Right.
I listen to. There's a guy from Algeria called Idir. He's kind of like an Algerian Cat Stevens. So I don't know if I have a really eclectic, weird taste in music. I like Rocky Erickson. He was in the 13th Floor Elevators in the late '60s. He did a lot of solo stuff. But yeah, as far as metal's concerned, I mean, if I'm putting on a metal album, it's predominantly the older stuff. Same stuff that these guys are probably going to say. The Black Sabbath, the Thin Lizzy stuff, I'm really into. But yeah, I'm all over the place, man. Like I said, I'm probably the worst metalhead there is.
Well, being the lead singer, you get influences from singers. So who do you think that you fit in, or who are some of those singers that you think you sort of fall behind, or who you like?
The thing is, I don't know. I really like Rocky Erickson, like I mentioned. He's like a really kind of underrated and forgotten singer of the past 40 odd years. I think he's got a brilliant voice. I don't think I could compare my voice to really anyone. I mean, I'm not directly influenced by people, but maybe subconsciously, or the music I listen to kind of seeps in. I listen to a lot of black metal these days, so I'm sure that's made its way into my,
Well, just and of course we're gonna have a video for these guys at the conclusion of the show. But myself watching and listening to that, I got a little bit of some Pantera there, a little bit of southern metal going on.
There's definitely, that particular song too has kind of like that Sabbathy kind of
Yeah, I was
blues
gonna say
riff
it's
in it.
gonna be
Yeah.
a lot more blues and more Sabbath.
Yeah, and I think that
I could
comes.
see a little bit of that maybe.
Yeah, I'm not a real big Pantera fan. I mean, I definitely appreciate what they do. I don't listen to them often. But like I said, a lot of times, like singing for hard rock or heavy metal comes naturally to some people. They just have that ability to get those growls and get those high-pitched screams, and then nothing happens. Just something biologically, but that's something that I kind of had to work for a little bit. Growing up, singing in an E standard for most of the live music I sang, and not being too aggressive with the stuff that I used to do. This is kind of a different realm for me, and so I definitely got a lot more appreciation for a lot of the metal vocalists. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, it's all over the place. I don't necessarily have like a specific person that I go to.
And I can appreciate you actually doing some singing. Morbid Angel, then
The growl,
I mean, it has its place, and I can listen to it for 10, 15 minutes or so. But I appreciate more of the singers
The melodic,
that get in
yeah.
there. Bruce Dickinson with Iron Maiden is probably one of the prototypes of your singers, and then it moves along.
Well, it's about accessibility too. I mean, when you get into growling and screaming, it's not necessarily the most accessible thing to most people. Most people don't really understand it.
Right.
I find that bands like that, it can work if the music is melodic and it can, it can carry that weight of the melodicism. But sometimes if it's just all about speed or sludge and it's just growling vocals, it's hard to listen to a lot of that. It gets old real quick.
I agree. How about yourself? Who are some of your influences? Some of the
Same thing. When I was a teenager, I was really into Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, DRI, Corrosion. In the Corrosion, DRI, where you started to get those blends really with metal into hardcore punk. At the same time, I was listening to Sabbath and Maiden and things like that, and then got really into Bay Area thrash, Metallica, Megadeth. Forbidden was one of my favorite bands back then. Flotsam and Jetsam, stuff like that. And then got really into Tool in the 90s.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah.
Just more melodic metal and things like that.
And one of the things that in the 90s you got this influence. You had, of course, Anthrax getting with Public Enemy and doing that, which, worked on some levels, but I think once that happened, you opened the door in genre to a lot of these bands that came in that did this sort of rap metal, which, again, some was
Creative
good and
monster.
creative, okay, but some didn't hit the mark, and you really wish that some of those
That
bands
genre was kind of short-lived.
Thank God.
But what about yourself? We'll talk about some of your favorites or some bands you like.
I'd say I'm kind of a little bit more like Alex here. I didn't grow up being a metalhead. I listened to maybe some Metallica, Megadeth, and kind of some of the standards, but I know
Metallica, Cliff Burton Metallica, right? The older stuff.
Actually, I got onto Metallica actually after that.
Really?
I really wasn't a metalhead growing up. You know what I mean? It was more like a grunge thing or whatever is what was big while I was in high school, I guess. But some of my favorite bands around that time, like the 90s era stuff, was what I really liked. So Soundgarden was huge. I mean, Matt Cameron has a huge influence on my drumming. You got Tool, and there's some other bands that are in there. Oh, Alice in Chains, any of the 90s era stuff I was pretty much really into. And then I started really getting into music, and I think the first metal band, again, I did listen to Megadeth and some of that stuff back then, but I guess when I really was like, I'm listening to metal, Opeth was probably one of the ones that really took me over the edge. So then I started getting into Swedish metal, and I started really getting into a lot of that stuff, realm. So.
What about any of the newer metal bands out
Newer
there?
metal bands, I still listen to some of them, but I feel like I'm kind of picky when it comes to it. A lot of bands like Trivium and whatnot, I'm just not really into it.
No.
It's really hard for me. Lamb of God, even, I mean, there's sometimes I can listen to it, but it's not.
Right.
It doesn't have enough that really wants me to stay there and just keep listening. So, I mean, Opeth is one of them. I've been starting to get into a lot of black metal lately, and because of this band, actually more black metal and thrash, which I never really was as into before. So I'm listening to bands like Deathspell Omega, Velertak, and just a lot of other bands that are outside of my general listening. And then now it's like, so I'm really like, Alex introduced Skeleton Wish to me, never heard him before, and now I'm like, man, these guys are awesome.
Yeah, a buddy of mine actually, he knew I was coming out here today with you guys, and he's like, hey, check these guys. Widow, have you?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we know.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, they're really old school classic metal. I mean, those guys are great. You know.
Are they're from this area or close by?
I know Johnny is. I don't know about Chris.
Forever damned in eternity. We'll never steal it.
With a lot of people that don't really know a lot about metal I think it's a very dynamic form of music, and a lot of people have the reverse idea about it. But you know, I think there's a lot of dynamics in this type of music, and I think that's what people that are really into it, that's what hits them. You know.
We actually have another invite out to Judas Priestess. Have you ever heard those gals before? It's an all-female Judas Priest tribute band.
Sounds awesome.
I've heard of them. I thought they were from like New York.
New York, yeah. But they played at Southland Ballroom in town before. And we were supposed to get them on, and it just, whatever happened, didn't happen. But it's funny, there's an online thing about the lead singer. She's an African American guy. And so it's like this whole documentaries on her being an African American gal singing metal music, and then there's another African American gal that comes and watches metal music. So they go and check that out. So you look at it and you see it's like, you know, it's that whole old thing. Is it nature or nurture?
Yeah.
Is it who you are or where you come from?
Absolutely.
Sort of thing. So. Obviously,
Product of the environment.
Right. Obviously, those gals have, you know, embraced that whole genre of music, and they're great. I mean, I've seen them. I mean, I was impressed with some of the stuff they did. But, you know, I mean, but yeah, they're always welcome, and would love to have a bunch of hot girls on. Big leather and breasts hanging out.
Yeah.
You know, so we always
Much like Rob Halford.
touche.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really want to have our metal scene, you know, represented here on the show, and definitely appreciate you guys coming out and making the scene for us. We have a last little fun thing that we're going to do. So I'm going to ask you.
Musical chairs.
So, Testament's Chuck Billy and Slayer's Tom Araya. Are they lost at birth brothers or what?
I can see the resemblance. Both. I don't know if I've ever seen Tom or I in person. I've seen Chuck Billy a couple times in person at the NAMM show. And, I actually was at a show at the Whiskey watching Uli John Roth, and Chuck Billy was there. He's a big dude.
Oh, he's
big dude. Yeah.
Native American, I think he is, and then I think Tom's South America or something. So they've got that whole thing, and then with the big kinky hair.
Big guy.
You could probably trade them
both
in.
Great.
And
I think
the difference sitting 20, 30 rows back.
Both in great bands. I've always loved Testament. They're a great band.
I actually saw them on that tour. It was Slayer and Testament Open Forum. I can't remember what the name of the tour was, and it was, you know, one of those thrash metal package tours back in the early '90s. Yeah, they could be brothers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And another last quick fun question. You know, being metal bands, you know, you guys get gals out, and any fun stories about that you'd like to tell?
Oh man, as far as that goes, we're probably the most boring
any
band. They're all married with me. You know, so nothing really.
I'm super lame.
Yeah.
I'm like the worst. I'm telling you, man. I'm the least metal guy in a metal band.
Well, maybe
We've only been around for
being on TV, the guys out there will say, hey,
talk to my wife. She'll be
but anyway, hey, really appreciate you guys.
Hey man, thank
being
you
on the
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you.
Next, watch the video for these guys, and who wants to announce the name of the video? Go ahead and tell.
It's called Evil and Right, and we shot it with a group of really talented friends of ours called the Summit Collective and Depth of Sound. They did a great job. We were thrilled to work with them, and we're stoked on the song, and we hope you enjoy it.
Cool. Everybody, hey, we appreciate you tuning in today. As always, we ask you to go out, support our local music scene, watch the Raleigh Road Show, and together we can help keep our local bands and musicians show on the road. We'll see you next time. Thanks.